It's your boy DF to the deal to the MO. We back at it like a crack addict with these mathematics, soft fabric, so I do call static. And we here with the Origin series. I was requested this probably like a month and a half ago, but I didn't. I ain't gonna lie. I forgot. I ain't gonna lie because I've been doing so much video reactions to music and stuff. I forgot all about the Origin series until I see my logo. I'm like, oh snap! I forgot I ain't ever had this. But y'all already know from the first episode with the Black Native Americans, the Origin series is to give us insight on the origins of a group of people, like basically of a culture of people. This one is called it's the evolution of the French Canadians.
I'm not your friend, buddy! I'm not your buddy, girl!
And it was suggested by you dig. So let's get into it, man. No more talking. We already know on this page we have fun, but we like to learn as well. Shout out to my HOGs. Shout out to Damo Nation. We here. Damo Nation is dominating your mind to be free from the propaganda. You diggity.
He ain't lying.
Because I believe if we learn where everyone comes from, and we learn and we start intertwining our stories, is we're more alike than we are different. So now, when I become one of them big reactors on YouTube, 9 times out of 10 I will be shut down because I'm gonna have too much influence, but it's gonna be too much positive influence. If I was being negative and I was promoting certain agendas, they let me float on by. But I don't move like that, man. It's all about truth over here. So if you rock with the content, please like, comment, subscribe. If you want me to do origin stories on your culture, put in the comments. Oh yeah, Elena, I got you. You're next. So let's get into it. Let's get it started. Salute to Massa Man. He's the one who's created this video. If the video is titled "The Evolution of French Canada and Why They Still Refuse to Speak English." Let's go.
Oh, Canada. Everyone loves Canadians, right?
Uh-huh.
Except for these guys. Only they are Canada. Part of the original
Except
Canada,
for these guys.
as a matter of fact. Well, let me explain. Now, unlike with their southern neighbors of the United States, in Canada, one of the biggest points of contention when it comes to politics revolves around language, very similar to another country I've talked about here before. And although tensions regarding separatism have somewhat subsided in recent years, there was a point in time only a matter of decades ago when Canada was on the brink of splitting into two, three, or possibly even more smaller nations.
For real?
How could one of
Like
the
they
most
did in North
peaceful
Korea and South
countries
Korea?
on the planet that consistently ranks among those with the highest life expectancies, higher standards of living, and most trusting populations have such a huge issue dividing their country in half? It has often been said that although Quebec as they call it, lies geographically in North America, they have long had more of a European mentality when it
I ain't gonna lie. You see these type of architectures that if you grew up around it, you would want to defend it with your life. Look at how beautiful this is. Look at the colors, man. Colors. This is nice. This is dope.
comes to
Shout out to
politics and
Quebec.
culture,
I was in Toronto.
more
I've been
so
to.
than any other former
I went to
European
Toronto.
colony.
I never
And
went
this
to
is
over here.
primarily due
Look,
to the
this is
linguistic
dope. Look at the
divide between
structure of
inhabitants
this
Quebec
community.
and other North Americans. As everyone knows, the Spanish were the first Europeans to land in North America. Well, not really. And the French were the next to follow them in the exploration of this new land.
Okay.
Or not really? Well, the French did indeed provide some of the most renowned
You see how they be twisting up? Well, whoever conquers controls the history, so they be twisting it up all the time. But then the first natives, we'll always end up finding out at the end.
explorers of the New World after the landing of Columbus, especially in Northern America, and many French traders, hunters, and navigators began to settle near the Great Lakes and the Mississippi River as early as the mid-16th century, but most of the settlements were short-lived. In this new land stretching from the Atlantic through the continent down to the Gulf of Mexico, the overwhelming majority of settlers were single men, either those hoping to make their living in the New World, or priests who attempted to establish relations with and convert the local Native American population. Unlike many other parts of the Americas, the native population was not immediately subjugated under the colonial rule, with the
Okay.
French having established rather positive relations with many of the native tribes through missions and trading outposts, and it became extremely common for French settlers to marry native women, often through trading.
Mm.
Yeah, I know it's weird, but that was normal back then. And the
Okay, so instead of doing the normal tradition of colonization, which Columbus did, which is rape, pillage, and kill, they was like, nah, these could be our allies. So let's work together, and in return, we could help build our own, build this colony up. I mean, build this part of the world up, and we could fuck around. No, by myself. Okay.
Is this nigga serious?
offspring of such unions formed a unique community that would lay the groundwork for the French community of Canada and, to a lesser extent, the United States. This widespread, highly heterogeneous group of mixed race
Hold
people was
on.
scattered throughout North America, not only near the Great Lakes, but the prairie region of Canada as well, stretching outwards towards Saskatchewan and even Alberta.
I'm sorry, I had to
and
go
many
back.
within
My
the
phone was
community
messing up just now,
intermixed
but
towards Saskatchewan, but the prairie
sorry.
region group of mixed and to a lesser
Look at that, son. Clearly, Native American woman, Native American child, look possessed. Clearly, got her eyes in the wrong way. Native American. Then they got the French. And they had, damn, look how much kids. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 kids. I even peeped a little baby. 7 kids, and this is back then. Now a lot of our households could pertain 1 to 2 or none. The depopulation has been working for a long time. If you hear that in the background, that's my dog. Somebody must be by the door. It's New York. Everybody's by the door.
extent the United States. This widespread, highly heterogeneous group of mixed race people was scattered throughout North America, not only near the Great Lakes, but the prairie region of Canada as well, stretching outwards towards Saskatchewan and even Alberta, and many within the community intermixed with others of the same parentage and became a distinct ethnic group known as the Métis. And in fact, the term Métis actually has the same etymological origin with the Spanish word mestizo, also meaning mixed. So in more ways than one, although differences do exist, the Métis are essentially the mestizos of Northern America and the historical root of French colonial rule in the region. The Métis would clash with English-speaking migrants moving west in the 18th century in a conflict known as the Red River Rebellion, and the Métis found sympathizers in other French-speaking Catholic Canadians in Quebec, but eventually could not compete against the overwhelming numbers, and today are a notable minority in the region, with
Okay, so the Albertas is 2.8%, British Columbia is 1.96%, Manitoba is 7.2%, New Brunswick 1.4, Newfoundland and Labrador 1.52, Nova Scotia 2.57. Okay, this is I'm reading it wrong. Percentage of Métis by region. Oh, okay. So they biggest their population is big in Northwest Territories and Manitoba and um Sakawacha. Saskatchewan. Don't laugh at me. Saskatchewan. Chewan. I'm wrong. I could be wrong. I apologize. I heard.
with many being completely assimilated into the Anglophone Canadian culture. Arguably one of the first and most important French settlements.
In addition to the 600,000 Métis in Canada, there are perhaps 50,000 in the United States, although no enumerations exist.
In Canada was established in present-day Quebec City in 1541, but was quickly abandoned following harsh winters.
This just makes me realize a lot of cultures that end up discovering one another is always mixing. So if I was to do a DNA test, I'm probably mixed with so much stuff. Like I already know my predominant mix is African and Cherokee Indian. But there's something down the line if I go back to my ancestors where I'm probably got a little bit of white. I mean, a little bit of Caucasian, a little bit of Irish, a little bit of Italian, a little bit of the Moors. Shout out to the Moors right now. But like you feel a little bit of everything. You feel me? Because everybody was just fudging. Let's go.
and mass starvation, very similar with what happened in the British in Jamestown. And it wasn't for another half century that the French were successful in creating a European-style city in present-day Canada, and even longer still for any substantial number of colonists to begin establishing families, infrastructure, their own culture, and eventually their own dialect of the French language. The French descendants in this region began to form two distinct groups, the Quebecois in the west and the Acadians to the east in the French territory of Acadia, and both coexisted alongside smaller number of Métis and Amerindian groups up until the French and Indian War, or 7 Years' War, where the British took control of this region and expelled nearly the entire French population of Acadia, with the area becoming the provinces of New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, and Prince Edward Island. Today, many in the maritime provinces of Canada and even in the New England region of the United States still identify as Acadian, while those who migrated further south to Louisiana became known as Cajuns. So, in a way, the state of Louisiana is the brother or cousin of the province of Quebec, despite being located on the other side of the continent. Now, following the 7 Years' War and the cession of Quebec to England, the British could have made the decision to expel the remaining 100,000 French settlers in the region, or otherwise forcibly repress French culture and force them to become Anglicanized, but instead the British allowed the settlers, many of whom had been there for several generations, to stay, although they did heavily encourage British settlers to settle in the region with little success. It was not until the late 1770s that any substantial Anglophone population began to form in Quebec, when a modest group of loyalists fled the 13 colonies from the south. Although attempts were made by the British and Canadian governments to assimilate the Francophone inhabitants of Quebec and the Maritime over the centuries, the fallout of the Red River Rebellion, along with the historical scars left through the expulsion of the Acadians, suppression of French culture in other parts of Canada, and general Anglo-French hostilities had still left a deep rift and extreme distrust between the Anglophone and Francophone inhabitants of Canada, despite being a part of the same nation. Ironically, by attempting to stamp out French culture in the region all those years prior, the British merely succeeded in adding...
Hold on, it's my fault. I'm over here listening to everything he said. I'm not even reading what he said. Up until quite recently, the term Canadian was used exclusively to refer to Franco-Canadians, French-speaking Canadians. Okay.
region all those years prior, the British merely succeeded in adding fuel to the fire of French-Canadian nationalism, and had there been a more natural progression of power and culture in the region, it's very likely that Quebec could have become much more culturally integrated with the rest of Canada. The number of Canadians of French ancestry is difficult to ascertain, as many of French origins may simply choose to identify as ethnically Canadian on official government censuses, but needless to say, the percentage in nearly every province and territory is quite substantial. Outside of Quebec and New Brunswick, who have French speakers as 84 and 32% of their populations respectively, almost all other provinces have rates of 1 to 3% of those who speak French as a first language, although additionally the number of those with at least some French ancestry is over 10% for nearly all Canadian provinces and territories.
And that's why Quebec is such a hub for the French.
This number increases.
Numbers for Eastern Canada are estimations due to many French descendants identifying as Canadian.
Is even further,
so it's not accurate,
especially
it's just
in the
an
Prairie
estimation.
region and the Northwest Territories. Over the years, migration to Quebec from mainland France has been steady, but by and large, the majority of Francophone inhabitants of Quebec,
Not gonna lie, that
or
Quebec
over
flag is
5
fire.
million people,
That
can
joint
trace
is
their
hard.
ancestors back to the original settlers of the 17th century,
That
and
flag
once
is dope.
called this vast region New France.
Better
And
than a
several
maple
genetic
leaf.
studies
Nah,
on the
stop.
self-identified Quebecois population has
Quebecois.
shown limited genetic diversity, showing evidence of a strong founder effect, meaning they're descended from a small founding population. Interestingly, the migration patterns to Quebec do largely mirror that of mainland France, as opposed to neighboring Ontario or the rest of Canada, as rather than a focus on South Asian or Chinese immigrants in recent years, external immigration has historically been dominated by Southern European nations such as Italy and Portugal, and increasingly as of late, the Middle East and North Africa. The large surge in migration of former French colonies such as Morocco, Algeria, Haiti, or the Congo makes sense, as many who already speak French from these regions would more easily integrate into Quebec
Yeah,
rather
that
than the
makes
rest of
sense.
Canada.
That definitely
Quebec
makes
does
sense.
have a small minority of English speakers who come from a multitude of ethnic, religious, and cultural backgrounds, although in the past half century the population of Anglophones in Quebec has virtually stagnated and as a result has decreased its overall
Oh,
share of the
damn.
population from 15% in
To
1950
7
to less
now.
than 8% today. Compare this to the
7.6 in
next most spoken
2011.
language in Quebec, Arabic, spoken by 2.3% of the population, meaning
Goddamn.
English is quickly in danger of losing status as a first language in the province. Even the proportion of bilingual French and English speakers has not changed much since the 1990s, plateauing around 40%, showing that there is little enthusiasm in the public at large to culturally integrate with the rest of Northern America. Statistics have
Ah,
shown
okay.
that despite creating a ratio of nearly 10 to
Population
1
of
in the
Quebec,
province of
42,
Quebec when comparing
78.8.
French to English speakers, since
Man,
1970,
that's a
over
lot of people speaking
three-fourths of
French.
those who have moved
French.
out of Quebec are English speakers, showing a far higher propensity to leave.
Mm,
Although around three-quarters of Quebec's
that makes sense though, because if you living in an area, that's like me moving to Thailand, right? But not really trying to go and learn the language. You feel me? Do I really want to live there my whole life without even trying to assimilate to the whatever they got going on over there? Of course, I want to go back. Probably not go back to America, but I probably want to go somewhere where it's English is the first language. You understand? So it makes sense. If I move from regular Canada, like Toronto, and then I moved to Quebec in a couple years, I'm like, damn, I still don't know this much because I didn't, put the time in, and I'm gonna want to leave. So it's understandable. It's like being in a it's like being in a it's like when you in a class and you know everybody is smarter than you. Feel me? So everybody's talking amongst each other, but they're not talking to you because they know your level of education is not up to theirs. It's the same. It's like the same thing because everybody's speaking this one language, and then you come. Hey man, how you doing? Go there. Yo, esa pana que pasó antes, man. Neta, que con esa mala money. Is that a language? Nope.
Population are francophone individuals of French ethnic origin. A very large
That might
amount
be
of them
racist.
may also have English, Irish, Italian, Breton, or even Basque ancestry as well. And over the years, these migrants have blended into Quebec society to become a sort of nation within a nation, leading to a precipitous rise in the desire for independence, leading to a referendum regarding an increase in sovereignty for Quebec in 1980, which failed, and a full-blown independence referendum in 1995, which was determined by an astonishingly thin margin of only 1 percentage point.
Damn.
Following this referendum over 2 decades ago, for the most part, tensions have somewhat cooled and the once fiery zeal for independence is dying down. But anyone who has recently visited Quebec or met an individual
flag
from
is
the
so
province
dope,
can
son.
tell you that their rebellious attitudes concerning the federal government and the rest of the English-speaking world is still very much alive and well. Out of all the territories and provinces of Canada, polls have shown that Quebec is the most opposed to integration with and generally has the lowest overall views on the United States. Not too surprising, seeing how France also tends to have some of the lowest views of Americans
Of
in all of
course.
Europe. But in all seriousness,
It's crazy how a lot of the French don't like the us as Americans, but we the reason y'all still popping. If it wasn't for our defense back in the World War II, y'all be speaking German.
Oh shit, here we go! It's on! Race war!
Oh man, stop playing with us. Big USA, USA, USA. I probably got that history wrong. I don't be knowing a lot of something. Like, I might be right, I might be wrong. It is what it is. Put it in the comments.
Canada in the past century has had a much more tolerant atmosphere on linguistic minorities than their southern neighbor, as during World War I and II the German language was nearly suppressed to extinction in the American Midwest and central Texas,
Damn.
and during the 60s many Francophone
Oh yeah, fun fact. This is random, but it's a fun fact. Did you know after the war, America and all the other nations that was a part of the uh what we call it nowadays? what is it called? Not the WHO. What's that? That treaty we have with everybody, and everybody's all together, and then Russia's by itself and Germany by itself. I forgot what it's called. But anyway, all the people who was against Germany, did you know they started ethnic cleansing all German people? Did you know that? Feel me? It was a book Candace Owens had recommended. I forgot the name of it. So if I find it, I'll put it here. But yeah, after the war, anybody who spoke German or was caught speaking German, they was, you know how messed up that is? The war is over. Like, you feel me? Y'all already won. Y'all dropped y'all bombs. Y'all did what y'all had to do. Y'all freed and helped free people from the Holocaust. Cool. Right? Like, you feel me? Why are y'all continuing to eliminate these people? It's like how Israel and Palestine going on right now. Since 1948, no, I ain't gonna get it right. Like, but yeah. Y'all look it up. Maybe if I can't find it.
Phone communities in Louisiana and New England saw a new enforcement of the English language in their towns, and this could partially explain Quebec's apprehensiveness to join America as just another star on the flag and potentially lose their unique culture. Following the referendum of 1995, the response from Quebec seems very clear. If they were to remain a part of Canada, they were going to retain their own culture and not fall into the pattern of Anglicanization and assimilation that so many other regions and people of North America had succumbed to in the past couple centuries.
True.
Although there's nothing wrong with being a part of a larger culture or nation, the French-speaking inhabitants of Canada revel in pride over their own background and history, and it doesn't seem this trend will curb anytime soon. Please let me know your thoughts on the French Canadians, and for today's poll, let me know which larger nation the Francophones of Canada are a part of. And as always, thank you all for watching. This has been Mason.
Hey man, that's dope. Hey, that's dope. To the person that asked for this type of this video, hopefully this helped you out and made you understand the backstory to your culture. And it's a riveting one to me. And for them to still be going hard to this day, like, nah, we French Canadian. This is what we are. We stand on business. We big Quebec. Like, you feel me? That's dope. I respect that. I definitely respect that. Opening your eyes to other cultures is so dope. It's your boy Dev to the deal to the MO. Remember, take your mother peace. Nobody tell you can't do what you want to do out here. Be the best version of you can be. Protect these kids. Protect some of this bum ass virus. And always remember, the government is your boy. I love you. I love you. I love you. Peace. You hear me? We out of here. Origin stories. Be back in the building. Origin stories. Ready and willing. I should write our theme song to this. I'm not.